All right, a ton happening today. Of course, we're going to be diving into a little bit of the privacy scenarios that are going on. We're going to talk a little bit about Adobe, but also a lot of Web3 projects that are starting to bridge the gap between privacy and use case around dApps. We'll break it all down for you. Got a special co-host for you today. You don't want to miss it. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor today. That's Coinbase. If you guys are looking at getting into on-chain summer, this is the time to do it because there's a lot happening with on-chain summer. If you are brand new to crypto or maybe brand new to digital assets, make sure and check out Coinbase. Just go over to Coinbase, sign in with our link down there. It's going to give you a chance to win about $200 in crypto. So check it out. It's very easy. Just to give you an example of what's happening over there, this is what's going on right now on Base. A lot of explosion in terms of projects. But Base has really started to move, and on-chain summer has just started. Mainly what we're talking about here, tons of applications that are launching all sorts of token promotions and a lot of new projects that I think you guys might be interested in. So check it out down below. You're going to need a Coinbase account to get going. I want to introduce our co-host today, and one who's been on the show before many times, but that is Miss Sarah Buxton. Great to have you.
Hi, Paul. I'm
How's it
looking
going?
forward to this.
Yeah, we're going to break
Yeah,
down a
it's
lot of
really
stuff.
good, thank you.
We're going to get into a little bit of, I think when you look at just what's happening right now in the open markets, Adobe's first big move, which I think this is such a bad time scenario for Adobe, especially when you think about just Web3 privacy in general. And Adobe, of course, has now installed somewhat a spyware-like terms of service update. This one's pretty bad because it's requiring you to do a lot of things to actually use the software. And many creators use Adobe on an ongoing basis. What is your take right now on this happening?
The biggest problem I have with it is the way it's phrased, this we may access your content. I want to see something that says we can't actually access your content even if we want to. I think we're a little bit done with big companies and their terms of service being open to their own interpretation. So I think it's, like you say, I think it's a little bit of a miss, to say the least, this one.
So I want to play a clip for you. This is an attorney that talks about these new Adobe terms. Listen to what he had to say.
If you are a professional, if you are under NDA with your clients, if you are a creative, a lawyer, guilty as charged, it's time to cancel Adobe, delete all the apps and programs. Adobe cannot be trusted. Once you see a company change terms and conditions and they break your trust, that's not something that a lawyer can fix. I'm just a lawyer. I'm not a doctor, but doctors have that even more with respect to really, really personal information about people and about what might or might not be wrong with them. And indeed, if you look at the actual contract itself, for example, now notably from a legal perspective, for example, is not a limiting provision. It's an illustrative provision. It provides an illustration. So you can't read this as the only reason that they could use your content. In order to provide the services and software, we may need to access, view, or listen to your content to detect, prevent, or otherwise address fraud, security, legal, or technical issues. That starts to get a little bit frightening.
I was looking at this tweet right here. Can't even uninstall Photoshop right now unless I agree to the terms. So you couldn't even get out of it right now. So this is one of those scenarios I think this may backfire on them. Do you think they'll backtrack this?
I think it's really difficult to backtrack. It's like with when Sam Altman with the OpenAI scandal. I say scandal in the loosest sense because there's so many with those guys, bless them. But with the her voice and no, it's not Scarlett, and it's like it's so close, and you called her. I think we're going to see a lot more of this, which is plausible deniability, and I think. With this, with these scenarios, it's going to get more and more tricky, particularly for creators. And you look at what Canva are doing as well with the AI tools. They're meant to be there to sort of empower creative people and to allow them to work more efficiently. It doesn't feel that way if you're actually able to rip their stuff off without paying them for it, right? So yeah, I'll be interested to see how they react to this. It's going to be quite difficult to climb down without saying we're wrong. And in my experience, companies like this don't like to say they're wrong.
Well, and one of the things you look at, just the impact of the creator community. This is a good example. This was on 9 to 5 Mac. This is movie director Duncan Jones. He was pretty blunt, said, hey, we're working on a bloody movie here. No, you don't suddenly have the right to any of the work we are doing on it. because we pay to use Photoshop. So I want to get into a little bit about storage, because this is something that a lot of people don't realize with Web3. There's a lot of storage solutions out there. This, of course, could open up with Adobe, especially because of the files that I have, and if I want to store those in another place other than, to where they have access to it.
Adobe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's go and play a clip for this. This is a lawyer talking about infiltrating personal PC storage. Listen in.
Perhaps more broadly than it needs to be. And in particular, the definition of content is where we're really going to get hung up, because when we look at 4.1, content could have said stuff that gets uploaded to our servers, right? But instead, because this is broadly drafted for every piece of software that they make, content in this instance means any text, information, communication, or materials such as audio files, video files, electronic documents, or images that you upload, import into, embed for use by, or create using the services and software. Now we've got a concern, because content is so broadly drafted that if they're allowed to look at anything in content land, we're a little bit worried that they can look at anything that we have on our computers, and they can get into our private information and our customers' private information, right? That's the big concern.
Yeah, so this is hitting home right now with a lot of companies. I don't know if many creators truly understand the impact just yet. And we'll see, how, the backlash may attempt, hopefully, push Adobe into a correction here. Ansel Adams' estate blasted them as well. They ended up using some of his photography, and actually were selling it as stock photography.
Yeah,
they had to go
stock.
in and,
Yeah.
that's crazy. That's crazy. This all happening right here, Sarah. They're announcing their Q2 earnings. So we have Q2 earnings. Not a good time to be announcing this. This is going to
Well,
be...
you say that. I suppose, updating these terms of service so they can be more AI focused is exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to be relevant, but you have to do it in a way that you're not going to, completely alienate your core company, your core customers. And I think you touched on it just then as well. I think it's not just, my IP and my work. If I'm a creative, I've signed NDAs, I've signed contracts,
Exactly.
I'm working on other people's things. So now all of a sudden you are putting me and my company or my livelihood in jeopardy. And I think that's what people are going to really wrestle to understand, is where is that thread for who owns the data and under what basis. So I think bigger companies are going to have a problem with this as well, not just freelancers too.
A couple other things to look at here is it's not just Adobe. You've got Dropbox, Slack, Microsoft, all being kind of the SaaS providers, all going into these heightened issues with terms and conditions being changed, and much of it has been around the generative AI efforts. Do you think that's about to change? Are we at a privacy chasm, so to speak?
I wish I could say we were, but I was at one of the most prestigious tech conferences in the world last week, and people were giving away their email addresses for some popcorn. So I think we've got a long way to go to be really clear on privacy. Yeah. We will get there, but we're not there yet. I don't think.
The opportunity here, I think, for decentralization, especially when you look at all the Web3 potentials out there, one, of course, is going to be the peer-to-peer side of things from a cloud storage standpoint, because at some point that will become a major factor in how many of these SaaS services are going to be working. Here was a paper that was written all the way back in 2014 by Vitalik. And there's Buterin right there talking about peer-to-peer cloud storage and the networks that it was going to represent. And a lot of which was on, the project that I think he talks about a lot, which is STORJ. STORJ right there, showing a little bit of a resurrection here just in the last little bit coming up. Maybe because of what's happening here with a lot of these SaaS services realizing that, your local storage is now their storage for their AI models to train on. If you look at other tokens, you've got Arweave kind of in that mix, and Filecoin, et cetera. What are your thoughts on these tokens that kind of represent Web3 storage? Do you think they have a future?
Short answer, yes. I think they were massively overhyped and overcooked. So I think there's probably a natural correction that's happening, but there's clearly a need for them. I wouldn't necessarily look at the token values right now as reflective of their of the future, because I do think there was an awful lot of hype around them at the time. And I think what we're going to see, genuinely I hope what we're going to see is a little bit of mass market use case come into play now, and for those tokens to carry on, performing for the holders and obviously for the projects, because we need those projects, the one I'm doing included, right? So yeah, for sure.
Flow is a good example, one right here. If you own one Flow token, essentially you've got 100 megabytes of online storage there within Flow. I want to play a clip that goes into this a little bit deeper. Let's jump to that.
We believe that the defining characteristics of Ordinals inscriptions was not necessarily the technical implementation, but how the images are stored directly on the blockchain. And the metadata doesn't just point to an image URL in a centralized database or IPFS. It's on-chain. You can choose your inscription type, so whether it be a domain, text, or image. I love cadence.flow. Can then confirm the inscription and then pay, approve, and done. Now that the inscription's created successfully, we've already seen people upload photos of their dogs, digital artists creating art collections, and people inscribing AI-generated images. With the Crescendo upgrade, Cadence 1.0, EVM on Flow, and more, it looks like 2024 is going to be a huge year for Flow blockchain.
Some of the things Dapper Labs announced today, their legal resolution that reaffirmed two of their most important positions. One was that Flow is not a security, in the same way that trading cards aren't a security. So they've kind of won that to a certain extent.
I really like this Hivemapper, which is the token Honey, I think, and that whole thing is about, we want your data. We're going to be honest that we want your data, just like Render is, right? But we are, unlike Render, which is going to reduce the cost for you taking your data, we're going to encourage you to drive around, and then we're going to give you rewards for doing that. So there is this sort of relationship forming where we're starting to understand that AI is not going anywhere, but how do we as customers and users and creators benefit from it rather than get maybe constrained by it? And I think there was a brilliant quote, and forgive me, I can't remember where it's from, but this lady was saying, I want AI so that I don't have to do medial chores, basically. Not me do medial chores while the AI is going off and painting and writing. That's not what I wanted. And in actual fact, that's kind of what we've got right now. So It is interesting to see how this dynamic plays out. But I think rewards and privacy, which is why we were talking about obviously like likes of STORJ and stuff, I think it is important of knowing where our data is and if we even want to give that up and for what price.
Well, staying on the privacy note, because this gets us into the next layer of some of the Web3 dApps that are starting to develop. One, of course, is Only One. This is a project that's been out there for a little while, but has recently started to gain a little bit of traction. One of the things that they're doing that is a little bit different, they're paying creators. Now, granted, it's kind of the OnlyFans model right now, but I anticipate we'll see this in all aspects of creators, whether it's chefs coming in and saying, hey, I'm going to create you, XYZ, other types of creators, maybe even musicians coming into this market. But the cool thing is that it has a lot of the models of what the traditional side of where Web 2 is. Do you think something like this has a shot in Web 3? Could it go viral?
And I hate to say it, but, adult entertainment, it tends to lead the way, doesn't it, in many technological advances. So it's so weird. And in some ways, it's meant to, devalue us. And then in other ways, obviously, it definitely trailblazes, particularly with technology platforms forward. So I agree with you. I think if you look at this purely from a content is content point of view, why wouldn't musicians use this? Why wouldn't content creators use this? And actually, is this maybe a better way than trying to launch some sort of half-baked social media app on the back of one or two topic areas? I think this is actually a much more slick solution. So I'm quite interested to see where this one goes. For sure, I think.
I'm looking at the, trigger warning on everybody. I'm looking at the Only One app right now. And the reason that I'm looking at this,
it's just your account, Paul. Be honest.
No, well, it's wide open. You can get there without logging in, so you can get verified though if you'd like. But the point I wanted to get at was this right here. And I'm going to showcase this right here. So I know this is a friends with benefits, but the point is, you see that token right there. That's a USDC. That's USDC in there. So you've got the ability to go in and buy that almost like an NFT. And guess what? You can also resell it right there. So it truly has that NFT connectivity. I'm thinking this as music. I'm thinking of this as recipes, other things that, respectable people might want to use. But the point is, a lot happening with the technology, So this guy spent $40K for a date night. Poor guy. $40,000, Sarah, for a date night.
Wow, that's a high bar, isn't it? To be fair, you're going to have to really put on a nice outfit and eat a good steak for that, aren't you? I mean, wow. But I think you're right. I think it's like, look beyond that. Look beyond the implications of this. Adult entertainment, people doing things that are a little on the edge. That's what pushes technology boundaries. That's what people like to, it's worth taking a risk for, I suppose. Some of the, maybe the traits that make us human beings, you could argue. But what's interesting is what comes next. What comes next to make this something that you, me, other people might be interested in. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you're talking about, I'm not a massive cook, but I can get the whole idea of chefs doing this and musicians doing this. It feels like it's a really good opportunity for creators to have some control and some surety around their earnings as well. And I don't see that is a bad thing.
You've got to have a viral moment for any of these things to get big enough to draw in the rest. So one of the things that Only One is doing, this is Charlotte Parks. She is kind of the front face of where this is going. Hang on one second. We're going to play a clip for this one. Take a look.
Hey, excuse me. What do you do for a living?
Do you want to tour around my house and you can guess what I do?
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Okay. So this is my house. You're welcome.
Okay. Wow, this is a big house.
So we have this little combat game.
Wait. But what's that penguin thing though?
This?
Yeah. What is that?
Oh, it's my little pudgy penguin. I'm an only one model, which means you can buy spicy pictures of me with crypto.
Wait, how do I do that?
Oh, just click the link above in my Instagram bio.
But do you think that's a viral moment? Is that a viral moment? Are we going to see something explode here with projects like this?
I don't know that that's a viral moment. I think that we have to be really careful. And you've done these videos, and I watch them when you're talking about celebrities coming in and crypto coins and what they're actually doing for the space and if they're adding value. So I think some of this will be maybe viewed with some cynicism, even with people within our space that understand what we're doing is like a bit of a cash grab. And you mentioned Patreon, and I think that's the point, isn't it? It's got to be Patreon, but better. And so if it's combining Patreon with a Firecaster combined with a TikTok and it's got a crypto element to it, that becomes exciting. Yes. I content of a certain ilk can help drive some initial interest, but I think there's that kind of content everywhere, right? So there has to be something that's delivering value. And I think we're all more than like a couple of things, right? Like we might like pets, or we might like cooking, or we might like sports, but it's that taking people from one type of content and pulling them into another mass content. And I do think sports is a really untapped area, because that's something that people are super passionate about, whether it's the commentary, whether it's the athletes, whether it's the insights. So music, sport, I will start to believe it when I see maybe another sort of the entertainment industry sectors joining this kind of platform, I think.
Speaking of that on competition, this is another project that is doing just that, where they're kind of competing two projects against one to kind of get to the point of a date. I want to play a clip for you to show you. Take a look.
We're back with Love on Leverage Challengers Edition. Basically, one star will go on 2 dates simultaneously. Using our Versus token, we'll launch a token for each date as the two compete for her approval. Here's the catch. Effectively, you'll be able to control the mute button by pumping or dumping each date's token. At the end, the star will pick her winner, and all losing token liquidity gets pumped into the winning token. Weekly episodes happening all summer.
Welcome back. The audience is on fire because we are talking about the dating landscape.
If there's a stupid dating story out there, I absolutely have it. I have been swindled. I have had like a 24-hour relationship, all of the things.
So that's actually Yeah, that's actually the girl that's going to be doing the dating. So now you've got tokens, Web3 tied into it, communities now starting to kind of create this. I don't know. Does this go the way of Bravo's worst show, or does this actually do something with this versus concept?
Sadly, probably. I think there is
probably be the biggest hit of the year.
Might break the mass market appeal. Look, there was something built. We were talking about Flow earlier. There was a really cool art platform built a couple of years ago now. I don't think it's there anymore. And it was called Versus, and it was brilliant because it was the comparison. It was the whale versus the masses. So the whale would bid on a piece of art that the masses could have it'd be 1,000 or something, and that did really well because of exactly that, the gamification, being able to see if you can beat somebody else. And I think there is I'm really not sure where this one's going to go. I mean, yeah.
Listen, Sarah, it's always fun breaking this stuff down. Thanks for being a good sport on this, because it's, when we're looking at, the evolution of Web3, you have to go into all of the places of where Web3 is going, whether it's gaming, culture, which I think is the biggest that is going to affect Web3 most likely.
100%,
as it starts to,
100%.
Yeah, it's going to move it. I mean, from your days, working obviously at Gala and seeing all of what music was doing, and really where the future of that is going to be going, I think is huge for all of this. Anyway, we're definitely going to have you back on the show, get you back in to do some more stuff. I think it'll be fun. So we'll have you back then.
Can I ask you if I come back? I feel like I've been here long enough now that I should flip some stuff back to you. I think that could be fun. Just
sure.
throw it out
what do you got? What do you got there? Anyway, we're going to get you back on. Definitely, we'll break down more Web3 topics. Thanks for coming in today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. See you soon. Bye.
You bet. All right, so you guys are tuned in. Make sure and get in the Diamond Circle right now. It's our own custom group, and we've got some big news coming out this summer. You definitely want to be part of the Diamond Circle. It's going to reveal something pretty cool. So be on the lookout for that. And the way it works is you just join your email. It's that simple. And of course, if you want to reach me out there on X, it's @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.